Hey, glad you're back. Listen, I want to take you on a journey that I think will help you see things differently. This is a study in John chapter 9, and we're talking about blind people this entire month. Part of our goal is to lay out for you a simple and practical picture of how blind people have more vision sometimes than we do. In the Bible, there are people who teach us how to see things. And so the topic of the series is believing you can see. It's all about believing that God can not only help your life be better, He can help you see a better life. But sometimes what stops you from seeing is limitations. Sometimes they're imposed on you because of culture. You're not a certain size, you're not a certain education, don't have a certain academic level, you don't have a certain look, sound, whatever. And there are assumptions that people make. In this story, we're going to see a guy. There is an assumption because he's blind that something happened in his life, that God judged him, that he was brought to this place because of some sin in his life. So if you look at me at John chapter 9, I want to start at verse 1. It says, as he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? So notice the assumption. Notice the judgment. He had to do something, or his parents. Now, what's kind of weird is if he was born blind, then what could he do as an infant that would justify this? But notice sometimes when you're judging, you don't always even think rationally about your argument. So Jesus makes a statement. Verse 3, neither this man nor his parents sinned. Nobody's wrong. You know, there are moments like that. Nobody's wrong. Everybody is right. Nobody did anything. Why are we in this condition? Nobody did anything. Here's what he says. He says, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. God says, nobody did anything, but I'm going to use this to teach you how God can work through this. In the midst of this imperfect life, season, challenge, watch God's hand. Watch what he goes on to say in verse 4. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me, Jesus said. Night is coming when no one can work. While I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. And he goes on and talks about his role and his responsibility. Please notice the first thing he does is takes this guy off the hook. The guy didn't do anything. Verse 6. After saying this, he spat on the ground. Okay, now we're getting strange. Made some mud, that's even worse, with his saliva. It's just bad right about now. When you read this, and I'll come back and explain in a minute, and he put it on the man's eyes, and he said, go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. And the word Siloam means sent. So the man went, washed, and came home seeing. What a moment. Now, I want to come back to that in a minute, and I want to make sure you understand where we are in our study. All along, I've been talking about the importance of vision. And in our first study, we've been working through the importance of seeing beyond limitations and seeing how those limitations can bind you into a place where you can't get free. Second sermon, we talked about partnering beyond your limitations. We talked about how important it is to have the right kind of partners. If you partner with the wrong people, you'll be limited by those people. The third sermon is interesting. We're talking about misunderstanding limitations. So notice with me, this sermon starts off with the conversation about people looking at a guy and coming to some conclusions that are not true. It's so easy to do that. It's so easy to make judgments and somehow think somebody did something. Now, I believe that sometimes you can be sincere. I don't think this is necessarily malicious. It's this culturally influenced. It's tied to a person's way of thinking, their perception. And this is so important because sometimes you can have a view that is solely yours. And I'm telling you, religious people can do this in amazing ways because we get Bible verses and we attach verses to people, and based on our interpretation of those verses, we put limits on them. We define people, we categorize people, and I think that can be really dangerous. I do believe that you can have an opinion, but I think you need to be careful that those opinions don't become limiting and hinders to people. Now, the first thing I want you to notice about this story is the disciples had a limited perspective about the blind man. Their concept of him was tied to their cultural interpretations, theology, and all of that. Who do you have a limited view of? Name a group. Is it white people? Is it black people? Is it Asian people? Is it short people, tall people, heavy people? You're a physical fitness person, so you judge all heavy people as being undisciplined, or you judge yourself as being really disciplined and really amazing. But everybody that doesn't have a perfect body is somehow not what they should be. And so you impose a judgment. But notice the second thing that happens in the story. Jesus broadens the disciples' limited perspective. One of the things that I think is really fascinating is the process Jesus takes us through, where he says, let me get your mind from here to there. I need to move you from where you are. You are a Baptist person, and you think in a Baptist way, and that is it. You're Pentecostal, you're holiness, you are an atheist, I don't know, whatever you are. The challenge sometimes is moving you from here, from male, to understanding females. That's why marriage or relationship is so difficult for you. You think like a male. You can't think. You can't see how a female thinks. And the same thing with females. They think that men should think like women. So everybody is, if they're not careful, is locked in a bubble that tends to limit and judge and critique and analyze and conclude, and there's no room for growth. But notice what Jesus does. He says, guys, let me lift your mind. Let me lift your mind. I want to take you across a boundary that you would not go across on your own. I want you to see this guy through a different lens. Neither he nor his parents did anything wrong. Now, this had been in their mind maybe for years. Every time they saw somebody blind, oh, the mom must have done something, oh, the daddy did something. And then Jesus says, you're thinking wrong, which is going to limit your ability to help people. It's going to limit your ability to touch people because you think all women are, all men are, all black people are, all Asian people are, all preachers are. You got this judgment, all teachers, policemen, you got a whole lot of limits you put on people and conclusions you come to about politicians. Everybody is judged by your narrow perspective. And Jesus says, you're wrong. Just pause for a minute and think about that possibility. You're wrong. You're wrong. Republicans, Democrats, independents, okay, maybe you're all wrong. Maybe there's a fourth way to do it. Maybe there's another way to look at life other than through the lens that you look at life. I mean, there's really a powerful misjudgment of people. I was studying about sports teams, and I was really surprised that when you name certain sports teams, they hate the other ones because they've judged those people. You're a Yankee fan, oh boy, but not like the Dodgers. Everybody's got their judgment. If you're a Lakers fan, who in the world could like Chicago? Or don't even talk about Boston. Our conclusions are so profound and fixated. And notice what Jesus does. This guys, you're thinking wrong. You may be sincere, but it's sincerely wrong thinking, I like to call it. So here's what we're going to do. He's going to illustrate it. Now this next step to me is a bit difficult because what he does, he crosses what I call a cultural limit to teach a lesson. So he does something, it's just, he kneels down, spat on the ground. That's already bad, right? That's like, you don't just go around, heaving on the ground in front of people, especially when people are talking to you, right? Just while they're talking, he goes, chew right there on the ground. Okay. And it's enough to make mud. This is getting worse, I know. I didn't make it up, it's in the Bible. And then he gets worse and he starts twirling his fingers in it. Okay, I hope you guys aren't eating. This is terrible. Right? What has he done? He crossed the boundary that made everybody around him squint. Oh, Jesus, what are you doing? Have you ever done that? You ever done that? You say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Then he takes another step that's probably the worst step across all cultural normal boundaries. He takes it, puts it in the blind guy's eyes, and says, go wash it off. I hope so. That is the plan. I'm trying to figure out what you think I'm going to do. Did I hear him? You know, if you're a blind guy, you know what that sounds like. Pachoo, and then what's he doing? Oh, he's twirling it in the sand. He's about to put it on you. You know, and you just sit there and you watch this. And the Bible said he came back seeing. So here's the lesson. God doesn't always do it the way you think it's going to do, and it's not always cool or easy, and it's not always fun, and it's not always explainable, and I'm not saying do this at home. Please don't you do that to anybody. Okay, this is not designed for you to mimic. This is designed to teach a principle. The blind man could not be healed, in this case, without Jesus crossing a limit, a boundary. As a leader, I get that. God, I get that. Every time I do something that's totally different from the way we organize our church, the schedule we have, you know, first, second Sunday, third Sunday in the building, fourth Sunday, Sabbath Sunday. What is that? Cross a cultural boundary in a lot of settings. You can't stop. You got to keep going. You can't have a Sabbath Sunday where you just are off and you watch digitally. That's crazy. And I'm telling you, emotionally, I felt that. Every time I do something different, the length of the services, the length of the service, I'm not preaching all day. I'm not going to talk too long. I want you to stay with me, and I want to make sure you stay to the end. I mean, there's a culture. Some of you right now, listen to the preacher for a minute, you're stuck in a cultural norm that's not working, and you can't change. You can't change. Your cultural way of loving people doesn't work. Every relationship goes up in flames. Maybe it's your cultural approach. You cuss every boyfriend you get out. Maybe you're cussing every woman. Maybe you're sleeping with everybody before you marry them, and you're just a love person. You're just all over the place. And maybe that's not a good thing to do. Everybody else is doing it. It's culturally normal, but you got to cross a boundary sometime and say, well, let me try something different. Let me try something different. Let me just try not to beat up my next wife or my next woman. Let me just keep my hands in my pocket. Let me not just maybe pay the people I borrowed money from, and maybe I'll have some good credit. Maybe my life will change. Maybe culturally I've gotten into some bad habits and maybe I need to cross them. See, I believe what Jesus is trying to say here, crossing cultural lines is necessary sometimes. Norms. Sometimes. Sometimes. For some of you, you've never worked. You've always been just kind of laying around waiting for somebody to take care of you. Maybe you should get a job. For your life, the norm has been to not work, to not have any money. Maybe you can cross that line and get a job and have money for a change. Maybe you can change the way you talk. Don't cuss every other word. I don't know what your norm is, but Jesus is clearly crossing a cultural norm. And it's a fair norm in this case. This is one of those just like, oh, well, that's a norm we should keep, right? But here's what he's saying. Push the boundary. Let me push the boundary. Let me lean in on you and make you uncomfortable. And watch the miracle happen. Watch the miracle take place in your life. I want to lean in and push you someplace that you don't know. Now, what's amazing is after this is done, the blind man is healed. And I want you to listen to verse 8 because it's an interesting conversation. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? So everybody's like, is that him? That's the blind guy, isn't it? Is that him? Watch this. It says, verse 9, some claimed that he was. Others said, no, it ain't him. He looks like him, but he himself insisted. He said, no, I'm him. You heard him talking. He said, no, I'm the guy. I'm the blind guy. He's the big right over there. I'm the guy. It's me. Believe it or not, I can see. Hey, I can see your face. Watch this. How then were your eyes open? How did this happen? Fair question. What happened? They asked, he replied, verse 11, the man they called Jesus made some mud, put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see. And they said, where is this man? They asked him. He said, I don't know, but I know what he did for me. Here's a moment. Here's a moment when you sit there and you watch this. 5 lessons that come to mind when I see this story. Number 1, your personal views or the views of those around you can limit you. Your personal views and the views of those around you. This blind man can see because Jesus pressed past the views of other people. Pressed past the disciples' views, the views of other people around him who thought the guy could never be healed. Sometimes your view and the views of people around you can limit you. That's why it's so important to travel and to meet new people and have new friends. I am a connoisseur of building friends because I realize that the more relationships I have, something profound happens. Side story. I was on the train the other day, right? I love trains, right? I was on the train the other day, and this lady was sitting like a row behind us on the right. And she sits there, and she just gets up and walks over and says, hi. She does. She says, hi. I said, well, hi. She says, well, where are you going? I said, well, we're going down to Savannah. And we're going back. And so she sat down. I said, well, sit down. She sat down. It's great. It was great. It was great. I thought, look at you. Because what she was doing was reaching out, crossing a boundary, reaching out, going past the limit and saying, I'm going to cross this boundary. I'm a white woman. I'm going to talk to that black man, his wife. I'm going to say hi to them. I said, you go, girl. That's what I liked. Some of you need to cross a limit, cross a boundary. This is amazing. Your views and your personal limits, there's something profound that can happen when you do that. When you cross a boundary. This guy could have missed everything if he had listened to everybody around him. Second thing I learned, when is the last time you admitted that you were wrong and limiting yourself? Now, the conversation I had with that lady on the train was great, but that could have been missed. My whole trip would have been limited. The joy she brought was great. It was a better trip because she came over and said hi. There are moments in life when if you can you just sit down and say, I was wrong. I should have done this, but because I was afraid, I bought into the limit. This guy could have missed his healing. Third thing I learned, who do you know that seems to have an unlimited list of different but progressive views? Do you know anybody who is unlimited? I mean, they got visions and views and they're electric. Jesus is modeling what it's like to be electric. He's not limited. And the disciples are sitting there watching Jesus cross limits, press past boundaries, reach out to people, do things that they've never seen done. Who is like that in your life? Name the person that makes you uncomfortable. They accomplish things you didn't even dream could be accomplished. You need some miracle working people in your life. Number 4, watch this. Who do you know that has used unconventional approaches and had great success? Who do you know? Can you name anybody like that in your life? I think we all need to have somebody like that. Number 5, are you surrounded by people that limit you? That limit you. Don't do that, Jesus, what you doing? That's gross. Don't do that. I mean, I understand the power of limits, but I think there's something about this moment where this guy sees his limits limited. I think it's a profound thing for you to come to this place where you realize that maybe there's a miracle for me. Maybe there's another way for God to bless my life beyond the vision I have for my life, the way I saw my life going. I'm a blind guy begging. My eyes are closed. I can't see beyond this. But then in his heart, Jesus comes up to him. What's amazing is there is no begging for Jesus like we saw in some of the other sermons I preached about Bartimaeus crying out. Jesus asked the guy. He walks up to him, offers him an opportunity. There's something about moments when God just brings something to you and says, hey, you want to be better than this? You want to try? But you got to get past your limited thinking and what people have imposed on you. I used to do this thing sometimes with people who were discouraged because someone said something about them. And they would say, well, they said I was stupid and dumb, and my mom said it, and my brother said it, and they would just go on to this list of what people said and how they feel limited because of all that's been put on them. So I would take a sticket, the stickets you put on, little stickets, right? And I'd put, I'd put 8'9", and I'd stick it on them and say, is that true? No, I'm not no 8'9". That's okay. I said, how about 2'4"? Put that on you. Is that true? No, it's not true. Well, why would you allow somebody else to limit your potential? Why would you allow that to dominate your mind, control your life because someone said something about you? I just think somebody said you're not beautiful. My favorite line is, let them show you their beauty check. Who pays them for their good looks? Why are you allowing that to dominate your mind and dominate your life? Maybe it's time for you to begin to take the stickets off and say, no, I'm not going to do that. So I want to close with 4 lessons that can unlock your potential if you like this. If you'd like to have your life change, here's what you do. Number 1, realize your perspective can limit you. Realize it. Your own mindset or opinions of others can hold you back and other people back. Number 2, realize self-awareness is the beginning of change. When you become self-aware, I'm telling you, one of the benefits of being 67 is I'm really aware. I'm clear about Ricky. I'm clear about what Ricky wants, doesn't want, can do, can't do. I'm clearer than I've ever been in my life. And some of you at 24, you're clearer. At 34, you're clearer. Because at this season of your life, it's the clearest you've been. And there are moments in your life when you realize that I need to become more self-aware and look at myself and learn myself. Your whole life can change. Thirdly, realize the value of surrounding yourself with progressive thinkers. I need to be with people that are progressive. People like Jesus, not like the disciples. See, the disciples had to learn to be this way. Jesus says, no, let me show you how to view this guy. You need progressive thinkers. People who come up to you and ask you something amazing. Do you want to try something amazing? Something you never thought of before. Go a place you've never been before. And lastly, number 4, realize God can work through unconventional methods. Somehow in your life, if you can get to the point that you can accept the fact that He's not going to always do it the way you planned it, give you the job you dreamed, put you in the place you want, give you the life you dreamed of when you dreamed it. If you can just say, it may be a little bit of mud in here, maybe a little bit messy, it may not feel quite right, it may feel awkward, it may be hard to describe, it may not be something that my peers would understand, but it's something that can work for me. Now, I want you to hear me. I'm not calling you to be weird. I'm not calling you to do something that's out of the box, strange for just no reason. This is not the typical way Christ led people to growth or healing, but it is one way. I'm saying sometimes it's unconventional, but I'm not saying go out and just do the weirdest thing you could think about. What I'm saying to you is trust your God to get you there in a way that you didn't plan. That's my point. It doesn't have to be the way you planned it. You just need to make sure God's on your side, and I believe He is. Next week, I'm going to take a turn. I'm going to talk to you about why it takes some people so long to get to a destination. And sometimes there are things you can do to limit yourself because you impose certain things into your lifestyle, introduce certain things that stop you. Mark chapter 8 is where we're going to start next week. I want to make sure you get there. It's going to be great, starting at verse 22. So if you want to read ahead, it's called Why Does It Take So Long for Some People to get to a certain place? Why do some people always struggle? They can never get past their limitations. We'll talk about that next week. This week, I want to pray for you. Father, I pray for people who are struggling with limitations that are unnecessary, who've allowed people to impose boundaries on their lives. Some people have said they couldn't do something, or they are judged because physically they feel they're not perfect, or because they feel as if they're not academically smart enough. And they've got all these judgments in their minds. They think it's because of their family or because of their mother or daddy. Father, right now we lay all that before you. Because just like Jesus got this blind man past his limitations, you can get them past theirs. And so we give you all the glory and all the honor in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, listen, I hope you've enjoyed these few minutes together. I pray it blessed your life. I pray you've taken something out of it and that you'll rise above your limitations and watch God bless your life. He can lift the limits in your life. You really can. My name is Pastor Ricky Temple. I thank you for being with us today. Let me just say, for those of you that are watching us on demand and watching us live on live streaming, The third and fourth Sunday, this month only, we have what we call our Sunday Sabbath Sundays. And so I want you to come out and join us online. Third and fourth Sunday is all digital. It's all online. And then we'll be back in church first, second, third Sunday next month. Make sure you come back. We've got some powerful things planned. We've got a powerful Rock Fest planned for our kids. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be great. We're going to give out uniforms. We're going to have hundreds and hundreds of people out here. And so I want you to listen to the announcers. They'll tell you all about that. And I want to say we are so proud that you're a part of our life. And I want to thank all of you who support us to make all this possible. God bless you. Have a great, great rest. I got a great word for you next week right here. Don't miss it. Or right here on live, right online. If you missed it, link it, send it to a friend. See you next time. Bye-bye.